guys. I want to welcome you out to Virtual Victory. This is Q&A with Pastor Daniel and Ashley.
Hello.
Let us know where you're watching from in the comments. I'm trying to bring it up here on my iPad, so we want to join with you guys and have a good time. You guys ready to have a good time tonight? How about you, Ash?
I'm ready, and
I'm
I
ready
think
too.
they're ready.
We
We're
got
ready.
our Cokes, but hop in the comments because I want to say hi to some of you guys. So wherever you are, wherever you're watching from, just hop on in here and let us know. I'm going to bring it up right now, okay? It's live, I see it, but I'm going to hop in this. So I'm watching me on live as you're watching me. So that's like 3 levels deep.
So
in
much
this.
technology.
All right, so we got people watching with us right now. Let's see.
Hello.
If you're in there, make some noise. Amy, hi, Amy. Just so you guys know, a little behind-the-scenes magic. Amy is watching here, but she's also right over there. And Amy is taking your questions tonight. So if you have questions, we're going to put it up on the screen. But hop in there, guys. I want to know who's watching, what you guys are doing, what you're up to. Let's flip the script. Can we flip the script for a second?
Sure.
All right. I want to ask you guys a quarantine question. What are you guys doing to prepare for the lockdown that we're going into tonight? Say something. Let me know you're here. What are you guys doing? What snacks do you guys have? Hop in the comments. What snacks? I really want to know about the snacks because if your snacks are good enough, I'm going to come and steal them. Hi, Sue. Want to say hi to Sue. Sue's watching with us tonight. Everybody else, if you're watching, want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Anybody else watching? We got the questions that just popped up. You can text 239-307-2443. That's 239-307-2443. Hi, Jotzi. Welcome to our Q&A night. If you guys have questions, again, you can text it to 239-307-2443. And we're excited to hear from you tonight. But we're going to go to the first question. Ash, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this thing.
Okay, we have our Cokes, and we got a clink, commemorative clinking. So,
are you going to take my Coke this time since you got
course,
diet?
absolutely. Absolutely. All right, first question. Top 3 funniest mom and dad jokes. Ashley, go.
I don't have any. I'm not that funny.
You're actually incredibly awkward, so you probably have a couple of, like, mom jokes at least. Go ahead.
You're going to have to go first. I've got to think about this.
Okay. Well, I'm incredibly corny. So, Ashley's dad actually had a really, really good dad joke that he would always say. Whenever somebody would tell me that I was funny, he would say, "Yeah, but looks aren't everything." And that hurt. That left some wounds and some scars. Ashley, what do you got?
Okay, I need you to ask me, what have I been up to?
What have you been up to?
About 5'11".
Nice. Nice.
All right,
nice.
One more for you. You do this thing.
Oh, man, I'm blanking now. Dad jokes. Okay, somebody hop in there. Joel from Canada. What's up, Joel?
Joel!
How you doing, man? Joel is hilarious, by the way. I shared a hot tub with him. Don't ask me any more than that. But it was a great time. It was memorable. But he left a little dejected, if I remember correctly. Joel, do you know any good dad jokes? What's a good Canadian dad joke? Pam from Alabama, what's up? But Joel, I know you got a good dad joke, so hop in those comments and let us know what your dad joke is. Lorraine, what's up, too? Want to say hi to you? But I don't know any more dad jokes. I'm literally blanking.
Joel, if you do a dad joke, I'm sure it'll be good enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's his last name.
Yeah, his last name's good enough. Hey, that was a dad joke.
Dad
That counts.
joke.
All right, next question. Next question, guys. What do we got?
How have you been passing?
How have you been passing time? I've been more busy during quarantine than I've ever been in my entire life.
Yes.
So I've been passing the time by just like going nonstop.
Just by running.
Yeah.
Running.
And Ashley
nonstop.
was already a stay-at-home mom, and she homeschools our kids. So
life is normal,
Yeah.
but like dialed up to 11 right now.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Not the same though.
It's a little intense.
It's intense.
It's a little intense.
Let's do this.
Do we have another question? Any embarrassing childhood stories? I got a zillion.
Go.
No,
Just
you go first.
I was never embarrassed as a child.
Wow.
No.
Just as an adult.
Just anytime I
Just
entered
being
a
married to
room-
me.
Anytime I entered a room, I did something embarrassing. There's not really anything.
You saved all of your embarrassing stories for our marriage. I understand. Okay, so I've got a bunch of embarrassing stories. I'm going to tell you probably the most embarrassing story. So this one is pretty hilarious. But we grew up over in Fiji, and nobody in Fiji knew how to roller skate. So I was the only person in my city, well, me and Derek really, that had rollerblades. And so, of course, as a young teenage boy, they were my instrument of impressing the lady folks. And so I would look for any opportunity that I had to break out the roller skates. And no offense, Ashley, I love you, you won. But I would wear roller skates and I would skate because that was impressive to the Fijian babes. And I remember that we lived on top of the church, and then the church was down below our house. And there was the church was just basically a giant, smooth, concrete area. And so one day we had a church cleaning party that was scheduled, and I remembered like, oh man, there's going to be a whole bunch of teenagers coming, so I'm going to put on my roller skates and just impress everybody. And so I put on my roller skates, and I started skating around, and all these teenagers started showing up, and the girls were showing up, and I mean, they were impressed, okay? They were more impressed than when you first met me, which is hard to imagine. But they were just, really excited. They were like, oohing and eyeing and all that stuff, and just, how girls get in the corner like, and that they're talking about you, but like they got that smile, and you're like, okay, this isn't like negative, like this is a conversation I want them to be having. And then my mom came in, and my mom always had a way of just like humiliating me in front of everybody. And she's like, hey, Daniel, stop showing off and start cleaning. And I was like, really, Mom? Really? You're going to play me like that? I'm impressing all the babes. And my mom's like, okay, well, take your skates off, stop trying to impress the girls, and start mopping. I was like, Mom, I'm a legend on these skates, and I can mop with my skates on. And she was like, whatever, take your skates off. I was like, Mom, I got this. So she's like, fine. And so I went over and I grabbed these 2 giant buckets filled with water, and I started roller skating with these giant buckets of water in my hand. And the girls, I mean, they were incredibly impressed. If they weren't impressed before, like now, like I probably could have like married 2 or 3 of them like right then and there. That's how impressed they were. And as I was skating and impressing, some water sloshed out the side of my water bucket, and it fell underneath my roller skate. Now, as it fell under my roller skate, my skate hit it, and immediately my feet shot out from underneath me, and my hands flailed above me, and both the buckets went flying into the air, and I fell down, and I landed right on my tailbone. Humans don't have a tailbone, you might say. That is restricted to primates. Well, I have one, and I found it with concrete, real hard, and it reverberated up my spinal cord right into my cerebellum, and my ears started ringing. And that wasn't the worst of it, because those water buckets that I had mentioned before, they had flown up above me, and then they turned upside down, spilling forth their contents onto my already bewildered cerebellum that had been rocked. On top of that, the buckets that the waters had been inside of fell slower than the water, but eventually found my damaged head and cracked me right in the head. And I'm sitting there in a pool of water. My tailbone is just in agonizing pain. My cerebellum is shot to pieces. I'm covered in water, and now these buckets hit me in the head. And all of these girls that I had just been impressing start pointing at me and laughing. And it was so humiliating. It was so embarrassing that I just said, man, I have to get out of here as quick as possible. So I rocket up to my feet to get out, but I had forgotten that I was wearing roller skates and now standing in a puddle. So I rocket up to my feet and slip and fall, and they start laughing harder, which makes me want to get up even more. So I try to get up again, and I do the splits, and then I fall on the ground, and I realize I can't get up, so I literally army crawl out of the water puddle, and then I get to a point where I can make it to the stairs to go up to my house, and I start running up the stairs because everybody is losing it laughing. As I run up the stairs, I forget that I am still wearing roller skates. So I get halfway up the stairs, my skates slip out from underneath me, and I fall on my face and go boom, 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 all the way back down the stairs. So I now have to army crawl up the stairs and lock myself in a room, never to come out again until I reached my mid-20s. That's my most embarrassing childhood story.
That's really sad.
And I've got a toilet paper roll length of embarrassing stories from my youth. Do you have any?
Okay, all right, I got one. It's real long. You're not going to believe it. I was kind of like the one who, when there's the group of friends, there's the friend that just kind of stands there and stares at everybody and doesn't have much to contribute to the conversations. That was me in teenage years. And so I was standing there in a conversation with maybe 2 other people, and it's really them talking and me just kind of standing there staring at them. And I'm standing still, and I fell. Nothing was happening.
Just standing still. Like gravity was just like, nah.
Like I just bent in half and fell and touched the floor and stood back up.
Whoa.
And I got some attention, but it was not cute. It was just an embarrassing thing.
So you were just, I don't think I've ever heard this story before. You were just
No, I
standing there and you
repressed it.
folded in half.
I just was standing there and I just fell.
And your body just pulled a Jenga on you.
Yeah.
No reason.
It was embarrassing.
That's so funny.
It was embarrassing.
That's so funny. So you just did like a hard reset in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Do you want more kids, and how would your life be different if you had a daughter in the mix? Oh, that's a personal question.
That is personal.
Somebody just jumping right into my feelings there. We've talked about it. I think we're good, right?
I'm real good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
I'm done. Thank you, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's like Gandalf. You shall not pass. Not having any more jitlets, you know? I've always wanted a daughter. I've had a girl name picked out literally since I was a teenager. I don't know if that's lame or not. But I wanted a daughter my whole life. And I instead got 3 amazing boys. And
We're very happy with our 3
Super
boys.
happy.
And we
Super
do not
happy.
want a 4th boy. So
super happy. We love them
done.
a lot. And boys, if you're watching, what are you doing?
we love you.
You have something better to do, I'm sure. Go color a picture. Next, how do you pronounce crayon? I always say a crown.
He says crown.
I say crown.
It's a crayon.
It's
If you look at phonetically,
Yeah,
C-R-A-Y, cray,
Ph-
on.
Yeah, phonetically it's a crayon.
You can't ask us about grammar because
Phonetically
it's a
it's
problem.
crayon, but like it just
you still, even
cray-
when you're
crayon.
saying phonetically,
It sounds like a
it's
Star Wars alien.
crayon.
Crayon. I'm Lieutenant Worf. I am from the crayons.
He literally has confused me
Planet
before.
Crayon.
Like, can you pick up those crowns? And
crayon. Planet Worf. Crayon.
We got to move on from grammar questions. I can't deal with you right now.
Star Trek. Live long and prosper. What's your favorite memory in ministry? Ashley, do you have a favorite memory in ministry?
I don't like picking favorites. But I always like weddings. Like Alex and Andrew got married. Like,
Oh, yeah.
And that was just a cool day because we saw them when they were just little babies.
Yeah.
And then
And now they're in our live stream booth
yeah,
right now.
and they're like a
She's
huge part
waving.
of our they're
She's
a
like,
huge
"They're
part of
talking
our
about me."
church, and it was just cool to see them like, start their life together, and it was really sweet.
Yeah.
And I like stuff like that, like those happy moments, new babies, new
Yeah.
lives together.
Yeah, seeing kids grow up is pretty freaky. Like I
Yeah.
remember like Shailene,
Shailene, yeah.
like I mean her parents came into the church before they were even pregnant with her, and then to see that whole process, her being born premature and now thriving, and now she's just like the coolest kid ever.
Yeah.
And I see her all the time, and every time I see her I'm like, dude, I knew you since before you were a fetus.
I think she was the first baby born in our Victory family.
Yeah.
Like it was right at the beginning, and she was our first baby.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I think probably my favorite memory in ministry, as small as it is, it's just the most vivid to me, was we did a drama one time, and I remember that we had a scene that was supposed to be in heaven in front of God, and I remember that I wanted us to build God and have him be 30 feet tall in this building, like literally the height of the stage. And I remember that I had a very vivid idea in my head, and everybody was like getting mad at me and saying that it was stupid and that we couldn't pull it off. And I remember just getting so frustrated. I was like, fine, I'll do it myself. And I remember going and doing it, and everybody like, why are you wasting your time? And I just remember doing it and finally finishing it and like standing back and everybody being like, oh, okay, I see it. And I don't know why, but that kind of just always has stood out to me, like in terms of ministry. Like
Yeah, that was
when you
huge.
have a vision for something, like not everybody's going to see the vision that you have, but don't give up and keep pressing in on the vision, because when you press in on the vision, you're going to see it come to fruition, and people aren't going to be able to see it until you show it to them. So that just, I think it taught me a pretty valuable lesson. What's your most embarrassing moment in ministry, Ashley?
That's a hard one for me. I haven't really been in the spotlight very often, and not until recently. And I've been very careful, so I haven't had any of those horribly embarrassing moments. Most of mine has just been like me awkwardly walking into a room and not knowing what to say, so I awkwardly walk back out and then back in a couple times. So if you ever see me on Sunday just kind of wandering around, it's because I don't know what to say to people. And that's embarrassing for me. So just come and talk to me, please, and help me stop that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say that. There was one time we did a concert, and in this concert, I got up and did a altar call, like an invitation to serve God. And I remember just being so pleased with how it went. I remember just thinking, like, this is as good as an altar call can go. And the message was great. And I remember just like people just in the altar area just being like, you know, and just like people getting saved and all this stuff. And it was just like so cool. And I was having I just felt like it was going so well. And I got to a point where like, I was like, yeah, this is good. I'm doing a good job. And I started like kind of getting a little full of it. And I think God just wanted to remind me that, you know, it was all about him and that I'm an idiot. And so at the end, I was like, all right, guys, we're so thankful for all these people that got saved tonight. We're going to have the worship team come up and close us out in a thong. And I very clearly said the word thong. And everybody who's just like, what did he say? And that was awkward. That was awkward. So that was probably my most embarrassing moment in ministry. But I think my most uncomfortable moment in ministry was I was at a church in India. And I like to get really prepared with my messages and really spend some time on them and make sure that I know what I'm talking about. And I go to this church in India, and I was about to preach in front of 3,000 people. And there's a language barrier, so I'm going to be preaching with a translator and all this stuff. And I just remember just feeling so like nervous, and I prepared the message and got it ready to go. And then I'm sitting up there, and I'm prepared, I'm ready, and I'm sitting on the stage, and I'm sitting next to the pastor, and there's somebody up on the pulpit. So we're sitting on the stage much like this, and there's a pulpit, and the person that's introducing me is introducing me in Hindi. And the pastor, as I'm sitting next to him, 3,000 people out there, I have my sermon, I'm ready to go. He leans over and says, Pastor Danny, preach Luke 15 sermon. And I was like, what? Luke 15 that's not the message that I have. And he goes, no, don't preach that message. Preach Luke 15. And I was like, I don't have that message. I'm not ready for Luke 15. You don't understand. I don't have a Luke 15 message. I don't know what Luke 15 says. And he goes, lost sheep, lost coin, lost son. Gospel message. Go. And then the guy finishes preaching and introduces me. And I like walk up to the front and I set my notes down and I'm like shaking. And I look at the 3,000 people and I'm ready to preach this message. But the pastor just told me to preach something different. And I look back at him and he's like, and I'm like, everybody, please turn your Bibles to Luke 15. And everybody turned their Bibles to Luke 15. And I asked the translator to read it. And so the translator read it. And as he was reading it, I went and skimmed ahead. And then I just winged a message. And was really, really uncomfortable with that.
I bet it was really good, though.
I don't remember. I just remember, like, peeing a little bit. Next question. How do you stay positive? Who are the people that you lean on in hard times? Ash, you want to go ahead?
I lean on my husband a lot. Like he can see when I'm
a rock.
Can you not?
I'm a rock.
Okay. So I lean on him and he steals my drink. You could have just gotten yourself a regular Coke. It's
okay.
fine.
You can lean on me
fine.
about it later.
But you know what? I've just gotten to the point recently where my favorite thing to do is come to church. And I mean, that's a little bit of a bummer right now because nobody's here. But my church family, like I have had a lot of people text me encouragements and making sure we're okay, and it's just been really great. Everybody's been really, really nice. Like we had a lady on her way to the store yesterday call and ask if we needed anything, and that meant a lot. Like I didn't need anything, but I knew that I have her support, the support of her family, and that was just really great. And also I've got my mom and my sisters and my brother and a giant family, so just all the people I lean on.
Yeah. For me, I mean, leaning on Ashley as well. I think it's so important that you lean on your spouse. I think a lot of people get into affair territory when they find somebody else to lean on and they don't go to their spouse first. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's so important, if you want to have a healthy marriage, lean on each other, talk to each other about everything. And then that's where you get into like those emotional affairs and things like that, because people are talking to someone else and they're like, well, this person listens to me and you don't. I think you gotta fight through that. Yeah. You gotta have those conversations. You have to get on the same page. You have to. Oh, well, the person, you don't understand my spouse doesn't listen. You've got to get there. You've got to get counseling, whatever, but you've got to get to a point where you lean on the other person, and that helps you to stay positive. I also have some good mentors and pastor friends in my life. I think probably Pastor Ryan Deaton from Life Church is one of the people that relationally really picks me up a lot, and we try to meet together, like once a month if we can. And when we get together, it's so funny because I have pastors that I talk to that give me ministry ideas and stuff, but Pastor Ryan just gives me encouragement. And it's so cool when we get together because we're just honest with each other. And if he's got stuff going on, he talks to me about it. I talk to him. And so that really helps me to get a sense of perspective. And I definitely appreciate his friendship in that. Yeah. Well, the next question. If you can only eat one type of meat for the rest of your life, what is at stake? steak?
That was easy. Chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Next question.
that was easy.
We all know the negative impacts this virus has inflicted on everyone. What are some of the great things that have happened because of this virus? I think the great things that have happened because of this virus is that we have had, I think that we've had a checkup from the neck up. I think that a lot of us, I think we got into some unhealthy thought patterns, some unhealthy, maybe relational situations, and I think that this virus has caused us to reassess, what's more important, and so now we're not able to see our friends or to hang around with different people, and so this virus has caused us to consider the fact that, we can't take people for granted. And so now, like, I find myself missing people that used to irritate me. I find myself wanting even more to be around people and looking forward to even more the day when we're all able to, like, join together again. And so I think that that's one of the positive things of this virus is that it's really given us a sense of perspective. In terms of the church, I think it's really caused the church to figure out how we engage people and also, like, the global church to embrace the digital movement. I've talked to a lot of pastors over the years that are just really nervous about going digital, and I think that this has caused a lot of pastors to say, man, I need to embrace this and realize that I can reach a lot of people by, not being afraid of going into that space. What would you say, babe?
I would say there's just a camaraderie now. Like, for the first time ever, we're all in something together. Like when there's a hurricane, it's Florida. But this awful situation has put the entire world in the same boat.
Yeah.
And so somehow we're all watching the same shows on Netflix and talking about it. And then somehow we're all dealing with the same feelings. And so we're just going through something together. So people are being there for each other. It's brought out some negative and some ugly, but it's also brought out some really beautiful. And people are checking on each other, and people are acting like neighbors, like Andy Griffith 1950s neighbors. And that's really sweet, and it's really nice.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Next question. My child asks, can Kai be allowed to preach one day? He's the best ever.
Who asked
Your child
that?
is amazing.
Aw.
And your child is getting a Christmas present this year.
What's up, Brennan?
No, Kai is so cool, man.
Yeah, I like him.
I love Micaiah so much because he's just got the best little heart. Like, he's in outer space sometimes, but he's just got a great heart, and he's always wanting to preach and, talk about the Bible and stuff like that. And my mom has filmed a couple videos that she's put online of him preaching sermons. I've brought him up before a couple times in the past and had him preach a little sermon. He gets a little shy when he's on the stage, but and I've been thinking about it even through all of this, like, doing something with the kids and letting them kind of come up with something. I think that'd be fun.
I think it's a really good idea, listener.
Great idea. Great idea. Next question. Do you ever get scared that your family will get sick?
I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Scared. I mean,
for me, man, I just feel like God's in control. And when Jesus stood in front of Pontius Pilate said, "Don't you know that I have the authority to condemn you or let you live?" And Jesus said, "You would have no authority over me unless it were given to you from above." And so that's the way I kind of look at everything. That nothing can happen on this earth unless God permits it to. And so God's in control, and if God wants me here, there's nothing that's going to take me out.
right.
And if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. And at the end of the day, I go to be with God. That doesn't mean that there's not sadness about things that happen here, but I'm not scared that I'll get sick, man. I really, and honestly, I mean, I don't know. And that's why, like, we're trying to be careful and practice wisdom and stuff as well. Because if I was being foolish, I'd probably have a little bit more anxiety, but we're doing what we can to make sure that us and the kids are taken care of, right?
That's right. We love a faithful God, and we're also smart. So
yeah, you're smart. I'm just married to you. Next question. Do you ever feel overwhelmed with all the church and family affairs? How do you deal with those emotions?
Yes. Sometimes I eat a lot of cookies all at once. Yeah, it's overwhelming. I think any important job is going to be overwhelming at times. And you have to have conversations. There's been a lot of times, sometimes Daniel will come home and he's stressed from the day and I'm stressed from the day. And my thought is I probably shouldn't tell him the things I'm stressed about because I don't want to add on to him. But I have to realize that the relationship I have with him is completely separate from everything else. And we are a team and we confide in each other and like we relieve each other's stress.
Yeah.
So that's,
I think the word overwhelmed is the key word there. Yes, I do feel overwhelmed, but I think that there's two responses to feeling overwhelmed as a Christian. I can either control it or release it. And when I control it, that's me putting my hands on it, me trying to make it better. And to be honest, I think I've done a pretty bad job of that in this crisis. I feel like there's a lot of things that I've tried to carry myself instead of like submitting them to God. And the times that I carry things myself, like even today, we were filming stuff and I got super stressed out and I yelled at Kevin. Wasn't cool. But that's just me kind of putting the weight of the world on my shoulders. And all of us have a limit. And I think we find that limit when we're functioning under our own abilities. But when we surrender to God and we kind of tap into his grace, I think that there's a grace for us in whatever we face. And the Bible says that we are more than conquerors through Christ. And it's always that through. It's always if. It's always when. And it's always a contingency upon his spirit and his presence. Mm-hmm. And so it's not overwhelming when God is with you. I mean, you feel pressure, but you're able to rise to that pressure because his spirit is in you. And when you wait on the Lord, then you will rise up with wings like eagles. And so I think anything that God puts in our path, the best response to it is prayer. Yeah.
And so we're still learning. We're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
It's not been that long.
How did you react when you found out that you were moving to a foreign country, Fiji? So I was a kid. I was probably about like 8 or 9 years old, I think, when I found out that we're moving to Fiji. And I remember I climbed into my mom's bed early in the morning, and my dad was at a church conference. And my dad called my mom and was like, hey, we're moving to Fiji. And I just remember my mom just kind of being like upset. And I remember her crying about it because she had finally moved into her dream house and everything was perfect. And I remember as a kid just being confused, and I didn't know what a Fiji was. We had already moved to Guam when I was younger, so I was used to moving and going overseas. So a lot of it was just, bewilderment, I guess. I don't remember being angry or mad. I just remember thinking like, oh, this is life, and we're doing this because this is what God wants us to do. I think our first day there, I kind of freaked out a little bit because literally it was like the universe conspired to make it the most unusual third world experience possible. So, yeah, and then also one of the bad things is in order to prep us, this was before the internet, but in order to prep us to go to Fiji, my dad went and got a travel book, and that's not what Fiji looks like. That's not the Fiji we lived in. So I just kind of felt a little bamboozled when we got there. But eventually we kind of acclimated to it, and I'm really thankful that I went because it's such a huge part of me. So, next question. Were you ever certain that God told you something that didn't come to fruition? If so, how did you deal with it? To be perfectly honest, I'm really, really careful to not label something God unless I'm absolutely 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt certain that it's God. I think there's so many times I think we get disappointed as Christians because we sign God's name on a check that he never issued. And then when we take it to the bank and it bounces, we blame God. But it's like, no, you just forged his signature on the check of your will. And I think that's where a lot of people get disappointed, is we're like, I want this, or I feel that God has said this is mine. And a lot of times it's just what we want, and we try to spiritualize our desires. I remember one time these two kids came to me in youth. This was the exact same week, and it was these two completely different boys, and both of them came and said, Pastor Daniel, God spoke to me and said I'm supposed to marry that girl. The problem was they both said the same girl. And so I'm like, okay, either God is confused or you're both signing God's name on your own desires. So I think it's so important to be so cautious to not say that this is God when we don't know that it's God. And I think that stops us from getting frustrated or upset because we're limiting things. And the thing is like when something doesn't happen, then God didn't say it. because everything that God says is true. So for me, I think in the limited times where maybe I thought that something was God and then it didn't end up happening, I go back and have to reevaluate and question, was this something that I really heard from God, or was it just my own desires and I wanted it to be God so bad that, that I just attached his name to it. And there have been times in the past where I've wanted something, and in prayer and seeking God to see if it's his will, God reveals to me that it's not. And so most of the time, I can't think of a time where I ever went through with something thinking that it was God, and then God didn't show up.
Right.
So that's me. Do you have anything to say, Ash?
No, I can think of one time where I went to Pastor Larry and I told him something that I said, I just feel very strongly like this thing is going to happen. And I mean, it was before Pastor Daniel and I got married. Careful about saying God said, because that's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a very big deal to say that.
And I think God takes that super seriously. I mean,
Right.
we hear about, like, don't take the name of the Lord in vain, and a lot of times we think
Yes.
that's a swear word.
Mm-mm.
But I think it's also invoking the name of God to endorse something that God never said.
Right.
I think that's like spiritual forgery. And so many people walk around as like spiritual forgers, and they say, oh, well, God told me. Oh, God told me. And basically, they're doing that in order to be able to do what they want, and you're not able to argue with it, because how can I argue with God told me?
Right.
Like,
Think about how upset you would get if you heard your own child say, oh, my dad said this, and you didn't say that.
Yeah.
You're going to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
So
I would just say, just be super careful.
Yeah.
Definitely pray, check,
Yeah.
double check, talk to some wise spiritual counsel, and make sure that you're actually hearing from God, and it's not just something that you want that you're trying to pass off
Right.
as God. Next question. Do we have any more? What is the most miraculous healing you have personally witnessed? Go ahead.
you go.
Man, I've seen a bunch, y'all. I've seen a bunch. I've seen people that had cancer get healed. I think probably one of the most miraculous was there was a guy in Fiji who had a hand that was shriveled up like this, and it had been for like decades. And we prayed for him, and it just straightened out, was able to work again. I've seen people that weren't able to walk, get up and walk. Oddly enough, a lot of miracles in third world countries, particularly Fiji in the early days of us being there, just saw God do some very, very, very incredible things. So, I mean, just crazy. I mean, I knew somebody that had a deadly kidney disease, and still a friend of mine to this day, and he was dying, and they went in and prayed for him. The doctor's like, he has a limited amount of time to live. We prayed for him, and he was fine, and he hasn't had any kidney issues after. I think Anthony is another good example. He's a young man in our church, and he was shot in the head. And every single doctor, this is here in the United States, every single doctor's like, there's not a chance he's going to live. He's not going to make it. They showed us x-rays of his brain and said he's missing brain matter and all this stuff. And every single thing the doctors told us would happen was false. And he's alive right now and possibly watching this live stream. I don't know. But he could be watching right now. If you're watching, Anthony, we love you, and we're so proud of you and the miracle God's done in your life. But, man, I've just seen a lot of miracles. Next question. Describe each other's odd quirks. Ooh, go first.
I will go first. So Daniel's just has a lot of feelings. He's got a lot of energy. He feels everything at a higher level than I think
Are you calling me
most
emotional?
people. No, I'm calling you passionate.
Okay, that's fine. I'll take that.
And sometimes his emotions just completely overwhelm him. And like if he gets excited, he like bubbles over, and I can't even describe it. It's cute.
I do that.
It's
I
so
literally
cute.
do that.
It's like a child. Like
Yeah.
imagine, have you ever seen Micaiah get really excited?
Yeah.
He does
Same thing.
that, and it's
Yeah.
real cute just because he's so excited. Sometimes he like excitedly rubs his face like that.
Yeah.
And it's just this cute little dumb thing you do, and I just love it
Yeah.
because you're just like a little kid.
Okay. That's awkward. Irritate most dudes. I love when what?
What?
They're cute. I like them.
Who would they
Like
irritate?
you do like no, I'm saying like the stupid stuff that you do. Like
I do
like
stupid
sometimes
stuff.
I call her a brat, and our whole life, whenever I call her a brat, she goes, "I am not a brat." And I love stuff like that. I love her weird like idiosyncrasies and like just the fun stuff that she does, man. She does a lot of really, really goofy things and makes silly voices and noises and stuff, and I love every single bit of it. It's awesome. Did Adam have a belly button?
Oh no, there's been church splits over this, guys.
Yeah. Adam was a Ken doll, okay? No belly button. No belly button. Definitively. He was not in a womb. Next question. Is that it?
Is that it?
Okay.
All right, we
All right,
did
guys,
it.
that's all the questions. We hope you guys enjoyed our Q&A night. Anything you want to say in closing, Ash?
I love y'all.
Yeah.
Great day.
Yeah.
This good, night good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was a good night.
Mhm.
Thank you for joining us, guys. Want to continue to encourage you to check us out every weeknight at 7 p.m. We're going to be dropping fresh content. We've got some stuff that's pre-recorded due to the stay-at-home order that was issued. I really want to encourage you guys as well. Stay home. Like, if you're able to, stay home. Don't be crazy. Take care of yourself. Stay away from other people. I went to Walmart today because I needed to get something, and an employee grabbed me. Don't do that. Don't grab people. And she was like, oh, you need to go over here. And she grabbed me by the arm. I was like, hey, all right, Corona. So just, be respectful of other people and try and stay home, and let's do our part because we're going to get through this, and we want to get through it as quick as possible.
Oh, and I would just like to say, as let's all just be really positive. Let's all encourage each other. If you're going to be posting things, make sure that it's true. If you're going to be engaging in conversations, make sure they're uplifting, whatever's pure, whatever's lovely. And if you find yourself engaging in a lot of stuff that's not beautiful and lovely, just think on things. Think twice before you post on social media, and just let's all be positive, and let's bring the word of God first and foremost, and everything else comes second.
Yeah. All right, guys. We love you. Have a good night.
Love you.